Welcome to Without a Doubt, the podcast. A podcast for those women, girlies, or baddies, really any gender, who doesn't necessarily fit the mold. We are those who speak our truths, live our lives out loud, create our own paths, and without a doubt, know who we're meant to be. I'm your girl Mad, your host, and your new sprinkle of reality. I'm here to remind you that it's okay to do life different, that you don't have to be what is expected of you, and that your happiness matters. And yes, even us baddies that know who we are need this reminder. This episode is just an intro of who I am, what to expect on Without a Doubt, the podcast, and some tips on leaning into the realest version of you. I'm so excited to finally be recording this episode, finally actually getting this into the works, because I've talked about doing this with a couple of people and just some things never came into fruition. So here we are. Without a doubt, I'm so excited to finally do this, and I know for a fact I have so much to share. If you're here, first of all, thank you. And two, if you haven't yet already, liked, follow, subscribe, do those things because it'll help this baby podcast grow into more than I could even imagine. Here's what to expect on this podcast. I'm going to be talking accountability, burnout, friendships, weight loss, toxic shit, food disorders, and some topics that are probably going to spark up some thought. You can find new episodes every Wednesday launching at noon, anywhere that you get your podcasts. I'm so excited to be doing this on the regular. Once again, don't forget to like, follow, share, do all those things. I love you so much. If you ever told me that I needed to become a life coach, this podcast is for you. Thank you so much, because you are always in the back of my mind. But if you ever told me that I was loud, abrasive, angry, or any of those kind of names, just know that it stuck. I wish I could have forgot it. I definitely didn't, but I'm going to use it as gas to light my shine, just so you know. My entire life, I've been told I'm too loud, too this, too abrasive, too much. Not really from my family, but from other parents, teachers, coaches, and mostly male authority. I grew up in a single parent home, raised by my mom, and a small village of women. Not like a literal small village of women, but my aunts and my grandmas basically took care of me, my brothers, and everybody. Like, it was like a bunch of women just rule the world, who girls run the world. Yeah, kind of like that. Anyway, men were basically non-existent. My dad was there, but he was busy battling his own demons, and we're going to talk about that on a later episode, daddy issues, things like that, because I've got a lot to unpack on that, including my dad being in prison and na-da-da-da-da. Anyway, I've got a plethora of stories about me getting in trouble with male authority. Basically, I've always been who I am. I never let anybody tell me that I'm not who I am, and that is why I wanted to create this podcast, without a doubt. As I've gotten older, I've realized that a lot of the experiences and walls that I built are basically because I wanted to keep people out from knowing the true soft side of Madison. It's because I watch women in my world literally have to put up walls and take care of other people and do everything by themselves. So because they had to hold it together, I sometimes feel like I have to do that too. I've kind of realized that I've always been who I am. I've marched to the beat of my own drum. I've always done that. I've always been this person, including wearing tie-dye every single day my senior year, learning how to ride my bike. I just do things my own way. The older I've gotten, the more I've realized like a lot of these experiences and walls that I built up were to keep people from getting into seeing the soft, sensitive side of me, which you probably will get on this podcast. Probably some tears, which yes, that does happen to me pretty often, believe it or not. But it's because I watch these women literally take care of this world and planet and do everything and have to be these hard asses. And they had to hold it together. So I sometimes feel like a baddie who has to also keep it together. And my mom will tell you, she's such a hard ass, and I am. I can be a hard ass. I know. I try not to be, trying to be softer, but it just doesn't always happen. I know I'm not alone on this planet where there's other girls out there like me, other women out there like me who maybe never felt heard. You were told all these things, you were said these things, you were told to be quiet and sit down, but that's not me. I was also told a lot that my personality was intimidating, and like for me, that is such a trigger. Why is my personality intimidating to you? I didn't do anything. I just think that it's not like acceptable. Our personalities are intimidating. I don't need to be less for anybody else, just so you know. I recently celebrated turning 33, and I went to lunch with my grandma, who invited her friend, and I've known her friend has been in our family friends for 18 plus years. She got me a birthday card, and the birthday card was literally like, you've always known who you are. You've always been this person. Since I was a child, I guess she saw this in me. And we were talking recently how I had closed some doors to things, and like, I just wasn't sure where I want to go. And she's like, you know what, Madison, you've always been who you are. You've always been that girl. You've always known what you wanted. And it almost solidified for me, like after all of these years of like trying to figure out who I am, what I want to be, like I've always known. I just had to be it. And I probably learned all these things in the last 5 years. So this podcast is long overdue. Anyway, let's get into some things that I want to talk about, because I think this podcast is really to share the love, share some value, and give you something that you can take home and sprinkle it into your day. I want to talk about things I had to learn in order to create the life that I have lived. I guess I've built in the last 5 years, but these are things that I really live by on a day-to-day to create my own happiness. And if you ask anybody, a lot of people tell you, Madison, you look so happy, you like this, but it's because I've created these rules for myself. Let's do it. Number 1, you got to create your own expectations for life based off of your own goals and dreams. Like following other people's expectations is going to lead you down a road of resentment and unfulfillment. And for me, neither of those seem good for me. I want to be happy. Like I say, if being a starving artist makes you happier than being like at the top of a corporate ladder, then be that starving artist. Create your own expectations for your life based off your own goals and dreams. Like you get to create your dream life. How cool is that? Do it. You don't have to fill anybody else's expectations. And number 2, don't let anybody put you in a box. Do not put baby in a corner. Do not put me in a box. Do not say that I am just this one thing. Because most of us are multifaceted, especially if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I've carved my own path. You probably are a creative. You're probably someone who feels like you do not fit the mold, that you have all these ideas and dreams and things that you see other people may be living, but it's just like still not enough for you. And I feel that deeply. That is me. Like I do not fit the box. When people say, what do you do? Who are you? Like I have a very hard time explaining this. I'm a freelancer in the work world, meaning I literally will pick up jobs and opportunities based off experiences. However, I do not have like a job. I guess I'm unemployed, right? Self-employed. Anyway, and number 2, like in order to become who you want to be, like people will put you in a box because sometimes that's what you did for so long. Like I was a fitness coach for 8 years. But that doesn't mean that's all that I am. I'm not just a fitness coach. I was not just a fitness coach. And for so long, I embodied that. So I think like for so long, people put me in this box of like, you are a fitness coach, but I was way more than that. I was a motivational coach. I was a hype girl. I was a DJ. But I also had a lot of passion projects on the side. I did yoga. I was a triathlete, you know. Your girl's got too many things. Do not give me one title. If you like the title, it's good for you. But I'm telling you, for me and my happiness and how I had to live my life more out loud as me, I don't like a title. Number 3, boundaries, which this is going to be a whole episode alone because boundaries are probably one of the hardest things you have to learn to make for yourself. I think one of the easiest way to think about boundaries is like creating your little home. For me, that's what I did. I have literally like my 4 walls that we are happy in, and this is my bubble. My family does not come over unless they tell me they are coming over, and they all have their own pin thing, and I know when they're coming and going, and I have a camera. This is my boundary. This is my sanctuary. This is my safe place. You have to create that, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a house. It could be a room, it could be your car, it could be a tent, it could be somewhere in the forest, wherever you want to go. But create your boundaries in a place that feels safe and sacred to you. Creating boundaries that are like more or less tangible, I guess, than 4 walls or something like that would be like boundaries. Like for me, I really try not to use my phone after 9:30 p.m. and get on it before 7:30 a.m. Because like people texting you late at night, like it just keeps you up. It just distracts you from your wind down time. Also, it gets in the way of me and my partnership. So talking about that, boundaries, doing those little things, like that sounds dumb, right? Creating boundaries, like just don't use your phone after 9:30. But for me, that works for me. So maybe for you, it's other boundaries. You get to create them, and that's the coolest thing. Anywho, we're going to talk about boundaries, daddy issues, and things on my upcoming episodes. Those are really things I'm excited about unpacking because I have a lot of those things to talk about. I wanted to create this podcast without a doubt because you're allowed to be who you are. I want to remind you of that, whether that's a rock of a human, this shell with a soft gooey inside, that's sometimes how I feel. Or maybe you're soft on the outside and you have a rock, black, jaded heart on the inside. That's okay too. I want to grow, evolve, and share with you, bringing you back to the circle when you feel out of touch, when you feel that you're not seen. On the next episode, we're going to talk about staying in your lane. I know this is kind of a surface level topic, but this is also already out, by the way. So if you just want to click right on over to episode number 2, Stay in Your Lane is now released. It's mostly about your mental health and how you'll feel better if you can just stay in your lane, focus on you, and how your goals will become more fulfilling when you're doing it for you. I'm going to share a few stories that involve family gossip and how sometimes that kind of gossip will kind of like question your character. If you just stay in your lane, sometimes it's better for you. We're going to talk about that on the next episode. Thanks so much for being here. I cannot even explain that. If you're still listening to this, I only recorded 5,000 of these, maybe not that many, but a lot. I'm also on Instagram and on YouTube, so please follow me there. It's Without a Doubt the podcast. If you enjoyed this first episode, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, do all the things. I love you. And it would also encourage me to just keep recording. Without a doubt, you are a badass. Don't forget it. See you on the flip side. I'm your girl, Mad. Peace out.